Welcome to the God Zone. Today is already day 3, but also we're so early in the program, and I am seeing the most incredible breakthroughs already so early. I'm so happy. I've bawled my eyes out reading some of your stories. My parents have bawled their eyes out reading some of your stories. Like I shared some of the transformations and breakthroughs in this group, and my whole family is in it with you guys. We're all just we're so grateful with what happened to our family in the God Zone, and so just really excited for what's going to happen for you in your life and your business and your family, with your wealth, with your health, with whatever it is that you move into the God Zone with. So I want to thank you for being so generous with your shares and your testimonials. Like, oh gosh, I love it all so much. And I know that some of you are also navigating different feelings, and that's also okay. Just remember, this is the beginning of the program, and so there's so much time left. So before we jump in, I would love to know who did the homework of yesterday and really experienced something amazing. Like that yesterday's homework really created something huge for them. So Tiff, why don't you come up and tell us what happened? Alpha Fem team, if you can help me unmute. Hi.
Melanie.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be here for day 3. Okay, so I did both homework. Day 1 was magic. I manifested like something that never happened to me, a coffee that my husband brought that I don't drink coffee in the morning. So I was like, okay, that was amazing. And yesterday we had the most amazing time. We danced. I felt like I was in a romance movie and I love that. And the biggest breakthrough that I have, Melanie, is I want to thank you for that. I realized that I love to be in the God zone most of the time. So I love that. I didn't know it was the God zone, but I just love that. But one biggest breakthrough that I had was when I get out of the God zone is because of someone else. The thing you said about let someone else disturb your God zone, that's your husband, that's your kids, that's your animal. And I love that so much. I feel yesterday I felt triggered at some point. I was like, let it pass, let it go. And I had the most amazing moment after my husband clicked. I was so shocked. He was about to talk to me about taxes. And I was like, no, it's fine. We're in a movie. And then we danced in front of the Christmas tree and it felt amazing. I thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I love this. Thank you so much for sharing this. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Next, we have Katy Perry. There you are.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
So good. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you. Okay. I really am. This is the perfect time. The things happening in my life are next level. If I tried to make them happen, there's no way that I could. And so when we finished our AFE call, I had made the decision I was going to innovate on what I already do, which is I'm an esthetician. And so I decided to go out on my own and I've been looking for properties. And I got a call from the lady I was working with. She has the most perfect spot. Like it is a dream spot. I asked her if I could rent it on the day she's not there. She said no. And I just sent her a follow-up text last Thursday. And on Friday, she called me and she's like, hey, I'm actually going to sign a lease somewhere else. And so my unit is going to become available. Like, are you interested in it? I'm like, 100%. Like, and I thought I was going to sublet it. And then when the lease was up, I would take the lease over. And so yesterday, I just had the most beautiful day, like just soaking up all the goodness of my life. And I heard from the commercial real estate agent saying, hey, there's a wait list for this property and I have to go through it before I can just give it to you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was under the impression I was going to sublet and then the lease would be mine. Misunderstanding, but okay. Melanie, that would have broken me in the past. Okay, absolutely broken me. And I just have this feeling, one, in my body, this place is mine. God has it for me. And two, if it's not, he has something else and I'm going to be okay. But yesterday, as I was just like spending some time just with myself, disconnected from social media, the internet, my phone, all the things, I had this thought come through of if I like we trust in gravity, right? I don't think I'm just going to float up to outer space at any given time. I never think about it. Why don't I have that trust in God that he's always holding me and that he always has a plan for me? And the peace and the, oh my gosh, I had a vision that I'm I'm not in the God zone, but this is my initiation into the God zone.
Whoa, the God zone, God zone, God zone, God zone.
And so I feel like I'm there, like I'm at the door and I see the God zone, like I see it.
Yeah.
And the ability to hold myself through this, it's been a freaking roller coaster, okay? This was a very like shortened version just to give you a little context. It's been an absolute roller coaster of emotions, of yeses, of nos, of all the things. And I'm just trusting like what's mine is coming. And that was it though. This vision of I believe in gravity. I don't even think about it. Like, let me believe in God. Let me not even question that He's going to come through for me. Know that He's going to come through for me. And yeah, I think this is my initiation into the God zone.
This is the greatest. Thank you so much for sharing that. And this is so in alignment with what we're going to talk about today. So this is perfection. Thank you. Okay, let me see. I had seen, okay. I'm not a God person. I'm a recovering Catholic, but the power I've tapped into doesn't have the baggage it used to. This is really big. So this is something that I've contemplated quite a little bit. There is the God that humans speak of, and there is a God your soul knows. And what I'm more interested in this program is the God your soul knows, not the God any other human has ever tried to conceptualize. The one that you know when you're in the zone with this power. You can feel the presence, the support, the magic, the peace, the faith. It's not like that the God zone isn't necessarily the religious understanding of God. It's more so the relationship you have with your faith. That's where I'm going mostly with the God zone. So I hope that can help you either go even further into your faith if you are very religious and you want to go even further into your faith with God, or if you're not religious, that you're able to see this in a different light, like it's your connection to your faith. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today, because I think this is the perfect segue, and Katie kind of opened the gateway for this, and this is such an important piece of the puzzle. So we trust in gravity. We don't question whether we might float away. We don't question that. Yet when there's something that we really believe or we really desire, sometimes we imagine that it's possible that we'll be left out from what we want, what we deserve, what we dream of. And so one of the biggest reasons I feel we do this is because we're not really grounded in a truth where there's only the God zone or our decision to be out of it. Like, we're never kicked out of the God zone. It's not like we are not good enough or we're not deserving or something, and then we're out of the God zone. The only time we put ourselves out of it is when we put ourselves out of it. We have to decide to put ourselves out of this zone. And we do this. We do this when we decide this is not going to work for me. We do this when we decide that there's bad in the world and that we're responding to the bad instead of having trust and faith in the big picture of things. We do this when we are afraid we're going to lose and we're afraid our ego is going to be shattered or hurt. When we're afraid there's feelings we might need to face that we don't want to, we put ourselves outside of the God zone. So I want to tell you a story because I think this is a really beautiful piece of the puzzle. Some of you have heard the story before, but this is one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had with the GodZone. So I was in Laguna Beach, California. There was a little store there, and it was sold clothes and all kinds of little things. And I walked into that boutique one day, and it was absolutely quiet. There was no one in the store. And this is early on in the stages of my personal development where I'm realizing that when I am in the GodZone, I draw people in like it doesn't make sense. Kevin and I will walk into an empty restaurant, and by the time we've ordered appetizers, the place is packed. And we hear it all the time. People say, gosh, this place has been dead all day until you guys walked in. And so eventually it became a pattern. Whether I'm in line at the bank, all of a sudden there's a line, there's nobody at the bank, all of a sudden there's a line out the door. The restaurant's empty, all of a sudden it's packed. The store is empty, all of a sudden it's packed. And so I started having this belief about me that wherever I go, business goes. And I held that as a GodZone belief. When I'm in the zone and when I'm in my power and my magnetism and my magic, I draw in people and money. It's part of my superpowers. And so I walked into this little store and kind of wowed the people that were there with my magical magnetism and told them, you know, a GodZone belief is basically like something that when I'm in the GodZone, I am this. Like when I'm in the GodZone, I attract people and money. That's a GodZone belief, right? So for me, it's like when I'm in the vibe, when I'm in the zone, when I'm at my best, when I'm at my peak, when I'm in my vibe, however you want to call it, I attract people and money. And so the woman said to me, oh my gosh, this place was dead until you walked in. And I said, yes, that happens to me all the time. I attract people and money. And she was like, that's a bold statement. Like, what do you mean? And so I told her, you know, it's just always gonna be this way. And I told her I'd come back the next day, and came back the next day, same thing happens again. The store gets packed. And so she's like, what do you do? And I tell her I'm a coach, and I explain what I do and how much do you charge? And I tell her my rates, and we exchange phone numbers and all the things. And I leave the store. Now, at this point, I am not responsible with my money yet. I earn money, but it goes in and it comes out just as fast. It's like, as soon as I get my hands on it, I want to be in control of letting it go before someone else takes it from me, because that was my experience of life before. Every time I had something, someone would take it. So I did the same with money. I'd put my hands on it and I'd let it go in the way that I wanted, of restaurants and hotels and travel, whatever it is, but there was never anything left. I just had a very high rolling lifestyle. And so we were in the States and our bank accounts were Canadian. And all of a sudden, I realized that I had not been keeping track of the exchange rate, and realized that we had run out of our money like 50% too soon. Now, at this point, Kevin still has a job. He's able to work on the road, and I'm supposed to be building this coaching business, and I have made a very big mistake. My bank account also has been blocked because of too many charges and things like that. And so they're like, you have to come back to Quebec to reactivate the card. So I can't access my debit card. My credit card has run out of money 50% too soon. And I have got to tell Kevin that I have really made a big mistake. Now, he doesn't get paid. He only gets paid every 2 weeks. Like, if we don't have money, we just don't have money. And I have money in my PayPal account, but we're supposed to move into a different hotel today, and the credit card gets declined for the, you know, like they do incidentals. It gets declined for the incidentals, and I have a pain in the pit of my stomach that's so big. I've been through pain before, and I've been through lack before, and I've made mistakes before, but they have never impacted another person. Now my mistakes are going to impact Kevin, and he does not deserve this. And I look up to him and I admire him and I love him. And I am about to tell him I messed up so bad, and I am terrified. And I'm trying to find a solution for this. And I'm like, how? I try to go to every hotel in Laguna Beach. They will not take our reservation without the incidentals on the credit card. So I somehow find a motel. And when I say motel, I mean motel, that agrees to be paid through hotels.com with a PayPal account. And they don't need an incidental. So you can imagine what kind of person goes there. And so I get to this hotel, and I am mortified. I'm going to have to tell Kevin we're staying in the dirtiest place. Like, it's just so bad. but I don't even know what we're going to do for food. Like the credit card's just done. Like it's just done. We have access to no money. And so I'm dreading talking to him. I'm dreading telling him, but I've got to tell him I have no choice. Like he's going to find out. So at this point, this is one of my most embarrassing moments of my life, because usually when I make a mistake, I run, I hide, I deal with it by myself. I sleep in the front seat of my car. I don't eat for a week. I deal with my problems. But this is like, I've impacted Kevin. The fear and the pain I was feeling, it was terrible. And so I told him what happened, and he was silent on the phone. I was like, he is going to lose it with me. He just said, okay, let me finish my shift. I'll find you and we'll figure it out. My heart was pounding 100 miles an hour. I'm like, what is he going to say when he shows up? He's going to be livid. So he shows up and he just went through his car and found like coins, what, you know, like between the car seats. And he was able to buy chicken breast and red pepper. There was a really crappy broken down barbecue there, and he made us dinner on this barbecue. And I couldn't look at him. I was so ashamed of myself, and I was so heartbroken. I felt so bad. I couldn't look at him. And the motel, it's so dirty. Like it's so dirty. There's a pool. I wouldn't even put my body in. There's the beautiful little string lights, but covered in cobwebs. And then the barbecue's gross. The rooms are gross. Everything's gross. And I feel like the worst person in the world. And he is scrubbing this barbecue like our life depends on it. And all I can think about is I'm a failure. And all I can think about is I'm the worst. And all I can think about is I don't deserve him. And of course I was going to mess it up. And of course I was going to put us right back to square one. And of course, like all the worst things you can possibly think. And I can't even look at him. And he cooks this dinner and we sit down next to each other, and we've got the piece of chicken. So at that point, I'm maybe making, I'm going to say $5,000, $6,000 a month, maybe $7,000 a month, but everything goes on hotel rooms and restaurants. We're just living on the lifestyle. I'm just a life coach at that point. And I just can't look at him, but I feel that he is still connected to me somehow. And I lift my eyes to look at him, and I don't see anger, which is actually quite shocking to me in that moment. I realize he doesn't hate me and he's not mad. Then I feel ashamed that he's not. I feel like I don't deserve him to not be mad with me. So I'm then self-inflicting the hate. I deserve him to be mad. And so he turns his music on his phone. He puts this country music on, and he stands up and he extends his hand out to me, like, dance with me. And everything in my body cannot receive this. It's like, you don't deserve to be dancing. You've got to be punished. How can you even, if I accept to dance, does it mean I've forgiven myself? If I accept to dance, do I say it's not a big deal what I did? Like, I feel like I need to punish myself longer or more. But he just stood there expectantly, and I took his hand, and the country music was playing in his phone. And he just started dancing with me as the sun was setting. And all of a sudden, this terrible looking motel started feeling like romantic. I could see the sun setting through the palm trees. I couldn't see the cobwebs because it was getting dark. The pool lit up and I couldn't really see how grody it was. And we were just dancing like there was nothing wrong. And I looked at him and I just felt the kind of gratitude I'd never felt for another person. Like, and the feeling inside that, like, how did I deserve this person? Just, I'd never felt that for a person before, what I felt for him in that moment. It was just this feeling like, how does a person like this even exist? I fell in love with him so deep in that moment. And we went to bed in the motel. And honestly, it wasn't so bad. And all I could think to myself is, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this man. 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 Thank you, God, for this night. Thank you, God, for this night. Thank you, God, for this man. Thank you, God, for this night. Thank you, God, for this man. I just kept repeating it over and over again. All I could think about was how grateful and how lucky, how did I get so lucky? How did I get so lucky? The next morning I woke up and I had a phone call. I picked up and she said, "Hello, I'm the woman from the little boutique in Laguna Beach. I've been thinking about what you talked to me about the other day and I'd love to hire you for some coaching." I was like, "Okay." She was like, I will pay 3 months in advance if that's okay with you, but I'd have to pay cash." I said, "Okay." I walked down 5 minutes from the motel where I was staying. She handed me an envelope with 3 months worth of coaching, and we were able to get back home. It paid for all our gas, all our food, all our accommodations, all the way back to Canada, where we were able to reactivate our debit cards. This is the kind of thing that the whole way I thought, how did that happen? How? How? And we drove through the most beautiful sights. And I felt more in love with him than I ever had. And I felt more grateful for my life than I ever had. And I was at the worst place I could possibly be the night before. How did we get here? So this is one of the things that I've kept with me in my journey, because I realized that one of the things that I tend to do is when I feel I've messed up, I punish myself by taking myself out of the God zone. Like, I don't deserve this to be fixed. I don't deserve to be loved through this. I don't deserve to receive through this. And I compound the feelings like, of course this would happen. It's my luck that it would happen. Why would I ever imagine that it wouldn't happen? I'm so stupid to think that I would have not been there. Like, that was my regular pattern. That's how I would handle situations when things didn't go well, is I would literally kick myself outside of the zone until I felt so lonely and so afraid that all I could think about was bad things. And then I would compound those and compound those and compound those. And the fact is, I did this to myself in my life in so many different areas. I did this to myself in relationships and ended up in the worst relationships. I did this to myself in friendships and ended up in the worst friendships. I did this to myself in jobs and ended up in the worst jobs. I did this to myself in financial situations and ended up bankrupt, sleeping in the front seat of a Honda Civic. Like, I messed everything up doing exactly this. I would often say things like, "It's just ruined. There's nothing we can do now. It's just ruined. It's too late." I would give up on a good day if something bad happened and just leave it at that, a bad day. Like, that's it. But this opened a doorway for me where it showed me, like, miracles can actually happen, and you don't need to be asking for a miracle. I didn't say, "Please, God." I said, "Thank you, God." And the money came. I realized so often in my life, the things that didn't come were the times I said, "Please, please fix this, God. Please take this away. Please don't make this be. Please change it." Instead of "thank you for my abilities, for the awareness, for the lesson, for the love I already have." This started to change things massively for me when I started saying, "Thank you, God," more than I started saying, "Please, God." My life changed massively. The God zone is the zone of thank you, not please. It's not about what's missing. It's about the amplification of what you already have. It's about the multiplication of what you already have. It's about being able to see what most people can't see, even in a storm, even in a blizzard, even when it looks like you've got nothing and all hope is lost. Are you strong enough to access the God zone that's yours to access, or do you punish yourself until you're blind to it? God zone blindness, where you imagine that everything has gone wrong and there's no way back. So why I'm bringing this forward is that you have now had 2 experiences where you brought yourself into the God zone on purpose. You imagined exactly what you wanted, you used your imagination, and then you experienced having exactly what you'd asked for, and you experienced the feeling inside of the simplest, most beautiful, miraculous feelings on something so simple. But the fact is, you can just as easily damage yourself with the simplest things. If you think back at some of the things that have really knocked you out of it in your life, you realize some of the simplest things ruined your day. Things like someone drove in front of your car on the highway. Something like you were missing fries in your bag at the drive-thru. Something like you poked yourself in the eye with your mascara and you got a little bit of black right there. Something like you overcooked the meat. Something like the most human kind of something. You were on hold and then it hung up. Oh, how very dare they? Like the kind of thing that's like you picked up the wrong set of keys. You misplaced your glasses. You forgot to charge your phone. And these are things that you will sometimes compound. Of course, this is my luck. On the day that I need this, this is the day that this is going to happen. And you have compounded some of the simplest things into tragedies. Punishing yourself. How am I so stupid? Can't find this thing. Why did I misplace this? It's always when I'm in a hurry. It's always when I'm this. So the easiest way to ease into the God zone is not to try to manifest a mansion or a dream partner. Those are all please frequencies. The easiest way to compound the God zone is to say thank you. Now, we hear about gratitude all the time. We read about gratitude. Top teachers in the world talk about gratitude, but I really have found while studying gratitude that it is one of the concepts on the planet that is the most cheapened when it's talked about. Like, make a gratitude list. Blah, 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 blah. The real feeling of God's own gratitude takes your freaking breath away. And the reason I want to get you in the God zone before I actually explain anything more like the universal laws and the creator zone and all that is because I don't think it's actually possible to understand the God zone from outside of it. I think when you're out of the God zone trying to get into the God zone, it feels like the God zone is locked or invisible. I think the only way to understand the God zone is to be in the God zone, because it's as if there's a language that you don't speak unless you're in it. So I want to bring you in this experience. I want you to actually, on purpose, feel how different you are when you're plugged into this, and then we'll study it from the inside. So before we even go into the teachings of it, I want you to be able to access it and feel it and be in it. And what's crazy is sometimes you'll wonder how the heck you got into it. Like, that was so easy. And sometimes you'll wonder how the heck you got out of it. That was so easy. Oops. So what we really want to do here is kind of understand how to tap back in once we've tapped out, and what are the very simple things that take us out of the God zone. And so this is why I said you're going to be interrupted. You're going to be interrupted. Your kids will walk in. You'll be trying to concentrate. Your partner will ask you a question. You'll trip over the dog. Things are going to happen. But those are easier to deal with once you understand the God zone, because now you can put a beautiful romantic spin on it. But what about when difficult things interrupt you in the God zone? A person who is having a really bad day and is very clearly not in the zone today. A person who's rude, a person who's looking for trouble, a person who's looking for a fight, a person who's maybe trying to punish themselves for something they've done and they've decided they're punishing themselves against you today. How do we handle those things? So who here in this program has a big thing that they're handling in their life? You either have there's a lot for you to manage. You have a big company, you're in charge of a big division of something, or you run a charity, or you have a lot of kids and there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of extracurricular activities. And it feels, when you look at your life, like there's a lot of people, a lot of relationships, a lot of communications, a lot of things that are happening. So it makes sense that there are more opportunities for you to bump into a person who's not in the zone. And when you bump into a person that's not in the zone, there's an effect, there's something that happens. One of my favorite analogies that I've ever heard of, I don't know if you've ever seen this, it's a coffee analogy. And it says you're holding a mug of coffee and someone bumps into you and you spill coffee everywhere. And you say, well, it's not my fault. I was bumped. So the reason I spilled coffee everywhere is because someone bumped me. Well, the fact is, yes, someone bumped you, but the reason you spilled coffee everywhere is because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been water in your cup, you would have spilled that. And so a lot of times people will say, well, yeah, of course, I'm not in a good mood today. This person bumped me. But it's like, but what's in you when you get bumped? And so I feel that one of the most important things for us to actually work on in order to fully understand the God zone is, who are you when you get bumped? So in full transparency, if you know you have lost your power in any kind of argument, if you know you have said things that you wish you hadn't said that way, if you have shouted at someone, yelled at someone, said words that you're like, oh my gosh, it's not the vibe. If you have lost it before, say me in the comment section. I love me, never. So there is a lot of conversation around this in the world where it's like nobody's perfect. You can't expect yourself to be perfect. And it's toxic to think that you could be perfect. And I'm going to tell you what my point of view is on this. What I think is it's almost impossible to be perfect, but it never hurt anyone to strive to be great for the right reasons. So when I first started this journey, I fought against everything and everyone, including myself. And the reason is because I had fight in me. That's what was in me most of the time. It just wasn't being bumped. I was constantly processing internal feelings of frustration, of anger, of stuckness, of frustration, of unfairness, of all kinds of feelings inside. So when someone bumped me, that's what came out. Before I could ever fix what came out, I first had to fix what was in the cup. So what I came to realize is that my job is not just to try to figure out how to not spill coffee. My job is to decide what's in the cup. And what's in the cup is thank you instead of please. Because when you have desires, constant needs, constant, if only I had this, if only I had this, if only I had that, why does this have to happen? Every time it's wishing you had something that's different than what you had in your cup. When someone knocks you, it feels like you have even less than you need. But when you're connected to everything you do have, you're knocked and you might say things like, well, I'll be fine. It'll be okay. Maybe I learned something from this. I know it's not your fault. I know you didn't do that on purpose. I know you're stressed. I can tell you're very anxious with what just happened. It happens. We make mistakes. People make mistakes. It happened. Are you okay? I'm fine. I will be fine. It's just a little bit of a mess. We can clean it up. We're completely different when what's inside is thank you. Thank you for my life. Thank you for today. Thank you for my life. Thank you for this program. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for my partner. Thank you for my passions. Thank you for my life, my youth, my possibilities. Thank you for my home. Thank you for my, like, everything that you're thankful for. But it gets cheapened, the gratitude thing, because it's as if it's something like, if you're not grateful, you're ungrateful. But that's not the right line. When you really are in the God zone, it's not a question of grateful and not grateful. It's a question of grateful into the God zone grateful. Like how you felt when you made your coffee that one morning and it just felt like, gosh, my life's beautiful. When you looked at your Christmas tree, the person who said, my kids made that tree. It wasn't about how perfect the balls were on the tree. It became about the tree my kids just put together. It's the feeling of my partner's cooking me a steak and I'm coming home to this cute guy in the kitchen with his Christmas sweater, who's worked all day and who's made me dinner. And like, I love my life and I love my husband. It's like, okay, my kids interrupted me, but like they'll never be this young ever again. And they want my attention and they want to play with me and they care what I think. And this is such a precious moment. And I won't be mad at this. I'll be thankful for it. And I'll remember it. When they're older and busy and they've got friends of their own and they can't make time for dinner, I'll remember when they used to interrupt me. And my opinion was the greatest thing they could possibly ask for. And my time was the most important thing to them. I'll remember that. Let me anchor this in. So your gratitude is your life as you see it. Your gratitude is love for what is. And you get to create all kinds of incredible things. It's just, I realized, what's the point of creating anything more if the beautiful things I have, I don't love? Because I wanted them at some point. There's a time I wanted the things I have now. So what's the point of gathering anymore if I eventually stop loving the things I have? If the whole point is to receive them because I love them, then once I have them, shouldn't I love them more? So to be in the God zone is to amplify gratitude in a way that's beyond what you would normally do. It's the understanding that if you had only what you have now forever, you could still be happy. But also knowing that that's not going to happen. It's inevitable that you'll get more. It's inevitable that there's more joy coming in your life. And I know you know that when I say this, like you don't question this when I say, there are more days where you go, "That's the best day ever," coming in your life. There are more moments of, gosh, this is beautiful coming in your life. There are more tears of joy, moments of disbelief, moments of love, moments of hope, moments of gratitude coming in your life. No matter how much you have now, there's still more good coming. So when you start to live your life this way, something magical happens. You start spending less time focusing on what could go wrong and what you don't have. And those are all the things that we do when we take ourselves outside of the God zone and punish ourselves for something, whatever it is. So I want you to take a second and I want you to think about, when do you punish yourself and it feels like it's the right thing? Not really in your head, like you know it's not, but emotionally, when you do it, it feels like it's proof of something. Like you prove that you're actually sorry by punishing yourself. Or you prove that you feel guilty for what you did. So you punish yourself to prove that you're guilty. Or you punish yourself because then you think you won't make the same mistake twice, maybe. Like this is the way that you prove that you get that you made a mistake, and then you really punish yourself, and then that's kind of proof that you probably won't make the mistake again. Where do you punish yourself? So let's see. When someone else is part of the event, when I get mad at my son, when I contemplate my speeding ticket. I used to punish myself all the time. It happens less and less now because I realized that the God I believe in isn't a punishing God. How amazing is that? Tetra says, yes, it comes from being that good little girl. Emma says, I punish myself for stopping the others from blaming me. Oh, that is a huge one. I punish me, so I take your power away from blaming me. I'm already punishing me. That is one of the most genius ones I've ever heard. Following my dreams is risking my family, so you punish yourself there. I punish myself for trying to establish and maintain boundaries. Punish myself for my health, when my kids desire more and I can't provide it now, for weight gain, when I make mistakes, when someone criticizes me. So can you imagine now, if instead of asking, when do you punish yourself? When I say, when do you kick yourself out of the God zone? I kick myself out of the God zone when someone criticizes me. I kick myself out of the God zone when I'm mad at my kids, when I lose money, or when I'm not successful enough. I kick myself out of the God zone when I fall short on my goals. I kick myself out of the God zone when I'm sad. I kick myself out of the God zone by working out too hard or not eating enough because maybe I ate too much before. I kick myself out of the God zone if I make a mistake at work. I kick myself out of the God zone if I compare myself. I kick myself out of the God zone when I say things I didn't mean to say out loud in an emotional reaction. I kick myself out of the God zone with pleasure deprivation when I make a mistake. I kick myself out of the God zone when I procrastinate. I kick myself out of the God zone when I'm unable to achieve everyone's request. I kick myself out of the God zone if I react instead of respond. I kick myself out of the God zone to prove that I'm sad and feel more heard by people who watch me do this. Are you guys seeing this pattern? This is a lot of like, I punish myself a lot. So the issue with this is that for most of us, punishing ourselves is most of the day. So if you wake up in the morning and you're not in the best mood, you punish yourself that you don't have a lot of energy. And then you take your clothes off to shower. And if you don't like what you look like with your clothes off, you punish yourself for what you see. And if you take too much time in the shower and you're late, you punish yourself for how much time you took. And if you can't find anything good to wear, you punish yourself for not having done laundry or for not having taken care of your clothes properly or for the fact that your clothes don't fit the way they used to. And then you make yourself breakfast and you punish yourself for how fast you ate it or what you ate. And then you get in your car and you punish yourself for leaving later than you should have. And then you punish yourself for getting mad at people on the road. And you get mad at yourself for not having been present with the kids this morning and have dropped them off, not even aware that you were in such a bad mood. And then you punish yourself all day for having been not present for your kids in the morning. And then you make a mistake at work because you're in your head about something else, and you punish yourself for having made a mistake at work. And then you look at your bank account at some point during the day and you punish yourself for how much money's left in the bank account. And then you punish yourself for not being grateful for money because you're in the middle of a GodZone program and you should be grateful and you're not grateful, so you're punishing yourself for that. And then you drive yourself to the gas station to put gas in the car and you accidentally pick up chocolate and you punish yourself because you probably shouldn't have done that. And then you drive to the store to buy food for your kids and you realize that you forgot to buy this or that. You punish yourself for that. And then you get home and they're upset because you forgot the one thing they asked you for. And then you punish yourself for that. And then you try to get them to do their homework and they make a mistake and you get mad at them and you punish yourself for that. And then you send them to bed angry, then you punish yourself for that, then you cry yourself to sleep, and then you punish yourself for that, and then the next morning you wake up and you punish yourself because you don't feel very awake this morning. And then you take a program that says, you should be grateful. That'll help. And you're like, okay, I'm grateful for my kids, although I feel really guilty. I feel grateful for my job, although I feel really guilty. I feel grateful for the money I do have, although it's not enough. I feel grateful for my health, although I don't feel healthy. I feel like I let go of myself. And I feel grateful for it's all so superficial. This isn't it. We're so much bigger than this. It's insane. We are creators and we've forgotten. I realized in my life that what really made me open up was when I felt I was using my life instead of burning through it. Right now, I feel like I'm doing God's work on earth. That's what it feels like. I am fulfilling the mission. When I was created with all my parts and all my bits, the ideal thing I would have done is this, and I'm doing it. And that has changed my relationship with me. And what it took for me to do it is to stop punishing myself for how bad I was at it at first. Because you're allowed to not be great at something at first. God actually made us that way. This is the thing. We were prepared to not be good at things we start. We were brought into this world. And the joke was like, you can't talk, you can't walk, you can't eat, you can't even go to the bathroom on your own. I mean, I've hooked up giraffes. They can do it. Elephants, no problem. Humans, nope. I want to start you the way everything will start for you. With you trying your freaking best and being a little cutie pie and messing it all up. But you're adorable, so it's okay. Be adorable in business at first. You make so many mistakes. You're going to be adorable with your money at first. You make so many mistakes. You're going to be adorable in love at first. You make so many mistakes. You're going to fall on your butt. You're going to mispronounce things and say the wrong things. But then eventually you're going to learn how to do it. And from the moment you're born, it's going to be in your cellular knowledge that that's the way you're supposed to learn how to do anything. So the God zone is the creator zone, is the learning zone. I think a lot of people get it all wrong. They think that the God zone is the success zone. But success doesn't last very long. It's like you did it, you succeeded, then you immediately want something else. Like you were not satisfied with just walking. As soon as that was done, you wanted to talk. You're an overachiever. Then you could walk and talk and you wanted to read. So many new things to learn, but you did it all. Now you want to learn money. You want to learn communication. You want to learn relationships. You want to run a business. You want to learn how to market and advertise. You want to learn how to handle your big feelings, and you want to manifest, and you want to do huge things, but you don't want to learn. Not really. You want to just know how to do it. That is not the creator zone. The creation is based on creation. Learning is creation of knowledge, creation of capabilities, creation of skills. It's not magic. Poof. It's evolution. It's change. It's growth. It's making mistakes. It's learning from those mistakes. So, can you imagine what your life would be like if instead of punishing yourself whenever it felt like you had failed, that you actually saw whatever is not yet a win is a creation in process? Everything is a creation in process. I am learning to have more patience with my kids. I was never taught to have that. I am learning to let my partner love me without doubting it. I was never taught to do that. I am learning to create money and hold money. I was never taught to do that. I'm learning how to celebrate myself when I do something good. I was never really taught to do that. I'm learning how to fall with elegance. I was never taught to do that. I'm learning how to grow my patience. I was never taught how to do that. I'm learning it now. And the cuteness and adorableness of your beginnings, being like, look at me freaking out. That's not cute. Or it was cute, whatever it is. Moving on, I've learned I do better. If you didn't punish yourself, you could stay in the God zone. You could be soft. You could still say, that was not good. I'm going to do better, without having to kick yourself out of the zone. Because the thing is, and this is the crazy thing I realize, is that people outside of the God zone find each other really fast. And it's the fastest way to find out you're not in the God zone, is you bump into all the people who aren't in the God zone. You're like, what's wrong with me today? Everybody I meet is a jerk. You're like, yes, you're in the jerk cafe, 2 doors down from the God zone. Everyone's hanging out there today. You chose, they're all hanging out here. Like, you are in the parking lot outside the God zone. Everyone is a nightmare. It's not easy to know when you're not in the zone. You're out of the zone. That simple. Like, you feel it immediately. But then you punish yourself for being out of the God zone. This is next level punishment. You take yourself out of the zone for something you did, and you punish yourself for being out of the zone. So if you choose, that's hilarious. If you choose to kick yourself out of the game, then you've got to understand that you're creating a relationship with yourself that's a punishing relationship. Like, how good can a relationship be when you're constantly being punished? So there are many reasons that we punish ourselves. And I'll tell you, the one most simple one that I think it is that everybody before us punished themselves too. I watched my dad punish himself when he made financial mistakes. I watched my mom punish herself when she yelled and she didn't want to, or when she had to go back to work when she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I watched teachers punish themselves at school whenever they lost their tempers with the kids. I watched people punish themselves everywhere. And I watched the older kids punish themselves. I watched my friends kick themselves when they were down and say the meanest things to each other. How are you supposed to do it any different when that's what everybody does? It blows my mind that we don't have a better communication system for how to be an adult at this point. Like, I know you can't like write a manual how to be an adult, but the fact that no one has tried is kind of mind-boggling. Like, what is school really, really, really for? Is developing who you become. So like there's a big part missing, which is how to deal with all of the failure you experience while you're learning. And there's none of that. How do you put kids through a school system with a failure system and not teach them how to handle failure? Now they've changed the school system. They want to tell people less about failing. Now there's participation prizes. So now they only learn what failing even feels like once they're out of school. It's great. We're not prepared to learn how to fail. And so when we fail, we think it's wrong instead of thinking that we're actually learning something. Now, what I'm saying right now, these are soft skills, very soft. But the fact is, to be in the God zone sometimes is to reparent yourself. It's saying a full human with all the blaming things outside of the God zone raised me the first time. And now I get a second crack at it. And I'm going to raise myself the way that works for me. And my job and my goal and my want is that the whole journey of learning and of growing and of living my life occurs in the God zone. I want everything that I do to be in that zone of universal law where things work in my favor, where I'm divinely supported, where even if something goes wrong, I know it's in the process of becoming right. So this is idealistic in nature. The way I speak a lot of times, it is idealistic in nature. But the fact is, it works. The tougher I was on myself, the less I enjoyed my life. The more I allowed myself to accept my failures, not bypass them or tell myself, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be good. You don't need to be great. You don't need, no, I care more than I've ever cared about my success and my growth and but it's to say, how do I learn how to be better instead of punishing that I'm not better already? So I want you to imagine this in a romantic relationship. Imagine someone else in relationship with you trying to get you to evolve or change in anything. So imagine you're in a romantic partnership and every time you mess up, according to them, they punish you. How long are you going to stay in that relationship? And they punish you by saying things like, you never learn. What's wrong with you? You deserve the bad things. You're so dumb. Of course you're messing it up again. Like, be like, this is not a very good relationship. There's no way that's the way we were intended to talk to ourselves. It's impossible. It's just, we haven't learned better. Now I can see in the comment section, some of you are saying, I stayed married for a long time with someone who said that to me. And the fact is, and this is the worst part of all of it, is no matter what horrible thing anybody's ever said to me, no one's ever said anything worse to me than I've said to me. And sometimes the harder you are on yourself, the more you tolerate people who are hard on you because you're like, well, it's rude and it's bad and it's awful, but I've said way worse. But if you had God's own standards, then you would meet people with God's own standards. And this is what it means to have a God's own standard to me. This is something that came to me very early on in my personal development journey. I asked myself this question: what if God were a fly on the wall? I think the only time we're outside of the God zone is when we imagine God's not there. There's no one checking on universal law. We're just invisible to the laws of the universe in these moments where we're misbehaving and we're treating ourselves terribly and we're doing all the things out of alignment. The universe isn't clocking this action. God is not in the room. We're just misbehaving in the darkness. No one can see it. That's not real. The universe clocks everything. God is everywhere. Now, sometimes it even helped me to say, because sometimes God was too big of a concept. But I would ask myself, what if one of my best clients was a fly on the wall? Like, what if my best client that sees me like the greatest version of me were to watch me handle this? Would I be proud of myself? Or would I be waiting for I think we're complete letter in the post? And I have been through so many things in my career that have tested my GodZone standards. But my GodZone standards have become my Alpha Femme standards. If God were a fly on the wall, if my best client were a fly on the wall, Alpha Femme standard, GodZone standard. And by doing that, I feel like there's always someone watching. And that's how I can't imagine that I'm ever failing, because I don't think God would just spend time watching people fail, but would definitely spend time watching people learn. I want you to see if you're able to reframe truly the losses you've had in your life for lessons, and see how you may have given up a little bit too soon because you forgot you were still learning. And instead of punishing yourself when you realize this, because I know you and your ways, instead of punishing yourself, ask yourself, wow, could I just pick that back up then if I wanted to? And you'll realize some of the things you don't want to. And then you might go, oh, I wonder if that was not a failure at all then. If I didn't even want it in the long run, maybe that was just divine intervention. But if there's anything in your life you actually care about that you put down because you're punishing yourself, what if you could just keep learning it? If you create a perpetual string of learning in your life, everything in your life is you learning, and you never put the string down, you can only get better for your entire life. And you never even break the momentum. Every single thing is connected by a divine vibrational string, everything. Because the thing is, everything is also connected. Like when I became stronger in intimate relationships, I became stronger with money. When I became stronger with money, I became stronger in my leadership. When I became stronger in my leadership, I became stronger with my parents. When I became stronger with my parents, like ding, 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 ding. Everything's connected. So you choose one area, it feels easier to go into the God zone with, and then you watch all the other areas rise. But the test is, when it looks like you failed, can you still believe you're learning? Or do you punish yourself and kick yourself out of the God zone? This doesn't bypass bad behavior. This doesn't justify that you don't give it your all. This is the opposite. And I love giving examples and going backwards and bringing in small kids. If you saw your child make a mistake and then give up, what would you want to say to them? If they made a mistake and then said, I suck. I knew I couldn't do it. I'm not as good as the other kids. I'm so stupid. I quit. What would you say to your child? Say, don't say that. That is not true. You're just learning. Don't talk to yourself that way. We get back on the horse. We keep going. What if you get to reparent yourself in the God zone? Because the thing is, your parents didn't fail you. They thought they failed and then they punished themselves. Because if they had continued learning the whole time, they'd still be improving on how they parent you. You get to do that. Anyone you've ever known that's failed in business just gave up because there was another business to pick up. Any single thing you ever want is a learning curve. anything. And learning occurs in the God zone. I watch my sister's son, so my godson, Frankie, learn how to walk. And he is the funniest person. I marvel at him because first of all, he did not walk at first. He just went from crawling to running. So the minute he could stand, he just tried to run as fast as he could, then he'd fall. Then he'd get up, and the minute he had stability, he'd run again until he fell. Like, he was not interested in little baby steps. He was like, how fast can I go on these things? He runs all over the place. He's just figuring himself out. But what I love about him, and it's so interesting to watch because I've watched children figure themselves out. He doesn't get frustrated. He gets back up so fast. And I often look at him and I think, gosh, I wish I had that kind of speed of recovery. You know, like you stand up, you run, and you fall in front of everybody, and you just get back up and then start dancing with absolutely no thoughts about it whatsoever. But he's fresh out the God zone. And the more we are lighthearted and the more we grow, the more I feel we connect with him. The more things I try, the more things I'm learning, the more I feel I could connect with him because we're growing. New life grows and learns. Everything grows until it dies. So we cannot give up on anything unless we put it out of the God zone. And that's what most of us do when we punish ourselves. So this module is such an important piece of the puzzle for your contemplation because it doesn't work to just learn how to access the God zone and only access the God zone when you're not out of the God zone. You can't say, thank you so much, Melanie, for teaching me how to be in the God zone. On days where it's accessible for me to imagine my coffee and be nice to my partner, I'm gonna do it. Thank you for that. That's not gonna change your life. It might change it a little bit. It'll change it on the few days that you were able to access because you felt good. What I wanna help you do is fall in love with yourself even on your worst days. Is to be able to hold yourself through really difficult times and communicate in a way that blows your socks off. Is to trust that you're supported and you're not failing and you're growing and there's a bigger version of you around the corner. That we're all growing in the God zone or we're quitting outside of the God zone. There's nothing wrong with you. There's no reason to punish yourself. Even if there was something wrong with you, there would be no reason to punish yourself. If there really was something wrong with you, then my prescription for you would be to sit there and be grateful for everything that's right until you don't feel so bad about the one thing you need to learn. It's never going to be punishing yourself because there's something wrong. That will never lead you to doing the right thing. It's impossible. So what I love, there's certain things about the way people speak about God that I really pick up because I don't know that the entire narrative suits me, but there are parts of it that I'm like, there's no better way to say that. Children of God. That's what they say. Children. No matter how old we are. 100 years is not a very long time. It goes by pretty freaking fast. It's already blowing my mind how fast this all goes. I've expected I would be, I don't know, by the time I was this age, be old and wise about everything. Like, I don't know, there's a feeling you think you're going to be when you're 37 years old. Like, you'll be all organized. 50 and 60 and 70. There's women who go through my programs in their 70s and their 80s, and they tell me, I wish I'd have met you sooner. Because it goes by so fast. So we're children of business, children of money, children of leadership, children of change, children of the universe, children of creation, children. And it's really important that we treat ourselves like that because the minute we expect we should know better by now, we start going the wrong way. The minute you think you should have known better, you're no longer doing better. You're just judging how far you came. So here is your homework for today. You're going to notice whenever you punish yourself, whenever you feel like you want to be mean in any kind of way, you're just going to ask yourself, if I really believed that I'm learning and that this is leading to a moment where it never happens again, how would I treat myself in this moment? If I actually believed that there's a way I could treat myself in this moment that would lead to me getting better eventually, how would I treat myself right now? If I knew that the work I'm doing is good enough, that I don't need to punish myself to prove that I'm sorry, that I could instead profoundly know that I'm sorry because I'm learning, what would I be doing instead? And on top of this, you're going to create one more imaginary moment in the GodZone. So what I would love for this particular one is I would love you to be naked for this GodZone moment. In this GodZone moment, you are going to realize that you are actually the youngest that you will ever be in your whole entire life. That this body you have, no matter how you feel about it, in about 20 years, you will be thinking, what on earth was I thinking? I was the sexiest beast on this planet. I want you to love your body, but more than just love it like superficial love it. I want you to love everything about it. The fact that you can touch your toes, the fact that you can scratch your shoulder, the fact that you can wash your butt. I want you to just love yourself and have a GodZone moment naked. So this can either be you're in the shower and you are going to wash your hair and scrub your body and take some time to really just be completely naked as the day you were born in the shower and not rush through it and just enjoy having a beautiful shower. This could be you're going to draw yourself a bubble bath and sit in the bath and soak and relax and maybe even bring in a cup of tea or a beverage and really take time while you're in there, listen to music, have a feeling about being a woman floating in a bathtub, like the beauty of it. Or you could take a shower, shave your legs, put cream everywhere, make sure you're so soft, wash your bed sheets and just lay completely naked in freshly washed bed sheets just for you and feel what it feels like for your legs to just be soft in the bed sheets. You don't need to do anything. I just want you to enjoy a moment where you are completely naked with yourself. And in this moment, your only job is to love that you're alive. This does not need to be sexual, but it can be. It doesn't need to be intimate, but it can be. What this is just freedom. Freedom to have a moment with yourself with absolutely no judgment. Just how it feels to be free. Not what it looks like, what it is. Your freedom. Yourself as you are. And if there's anything you notice that makes you want to kick yourself out of the GodZone, learn from it with love and kindness and see if you can stay connected to yourself. This is going to be a little challenging because now we're not just adding good feelings. We're also adding making it through some tough feelings. But God's always watching. If God's a fly on the wall, then how do you handle it? Through this work, you will eventually feel so strong you could handle anything. And on the day where you feel you could handle anything, God will give you anything you ask for. It's when you're not sure you can handle anything that it isn't given. You have to ask knowing you can handle it. This course will help you handle it. But first, you got to handle you. So enjoy day 3. Enjoy this homework. Enjoy. And I shall see you for module 4 of the GodZone.